I have concerns about this application, and I'd like to state those concerns briefly and then suggest that we postpone this application to a later meeting so that we can discuss it more thoroughly. I'm not sure this is the right time or place for this particular event. We have a precedent for asking applicants to move or alter their program. We did that just in December with Hospital's Festival of Lights, and the reason of then was that merchants were concerned about their impacts on sales. So that's one point. I think that's something that should have been looked into for this as well. I'm also concerned about what was observed at previous events. I've seen videos and received emails at the council that show overly sexualized performances and behavior, and I'm concerned about harm to the children who are exposed to these. For these reasons, I don't believe this event, as it was constituted in the past, serves the common good of our town, and I would like to see what could be done to find a location that might be more appropriate, and in particular how to prevent the kind of displays that were seen in the past 2 years that I think were not ones that many people want to see in this town, of overly sexualized behavior and children participating in those activities. So I don't know what the best step forward is. I certainly don't want to suddenly, well, not perhaps so suddenly, but to disrupt this council's proceedings, since this is not something we would normally be holding a public hearing on right now. But I will leave that, having stated my concerns, to the rest of the council.
I'm quite in. I disagree. I disagree holistically. Mr. Montgomery just said one of the concerns was businesses. I'm not quite sure that that is even a concern. There was a video, okay, from 2022. Let's just be honest about it. I never got any information until the president of the council sent it to me. My colleague next to me just quoted Dr. King and said the time is always right to do what's right. And the chief of police was there. None of this information was reported to us. Like I said, I saw that video, but it is quite unfair that we change the location or timing of anything. I think that my motion is to approve it, and let's continue to work with the Delmarva Pride Festival, the ones who are sponsoring it, and have open dialogue and communications with everyone, that we can work together, that we live in this community which is culturally diverse and diverse in many aspects of life. All of us should have an opportunity to live here, interact for the common good. I respect my colleagues, but I don't respect their opinion on this issue and this concern. I think the date and time is here and available to us, and I think we should vote on it. Here's my big concern, and this is for all my colleagues, that we should be fair to everybody. And if anybody in this room knows what it is to be treated indifferently, it's me. I want to be fair across the board. And if there's some other issues or concerns that you have that you haven't brought out, then I think you ought to state those issues or concerns, because the ones that you have stated is not enough in my mind to impact any change on this parade.
I think that we do have a responsibility as a council to look at the content of festivals that are proposed to occur in the town. I'm sure we will all agree on some that we would not want to have here. My belief is that from what I saw in this 2-year ago event and some of the photographs of last year's event, that I am concerned that we are opening this event up to minors with a potential content that would be harmful to them. I would like very much for us to have a discussion with Mr. O'Donnell and the organizers about how that can be avoided, because I doubt that anyone wants this to be seen as an event that is harmful or objectionable. And I have no problem with an event going forward It's the kind of activities that will occur there that I am very concerned about. And so that's why I thought it would be worthwhile having that discussion at a meeting when everyone has an opportunity to be prepared on it.
President Gonzalez, if you don't mind, sitting on the council, this has been a successful event for the last 2 years. We passed 2 public assembly permits with no issue. We've never had a complaint, whether I was sitting as president of the council or as mayor, ever heard a complaint. The only complaint I ever heard was that it was such a lovely event and it shared with Juneteenth. They wish it was actually extended into 2 weekends. I think that's a high compliment for.
And I understand that, and I believe
And
that
never-
they should be able to
never
have their
edited the
event. But
content
there
of
are
the
things that
assembly
we are responsible for as the council to address, as we've had an outpouring of people raising concerns in the past week.
We've also
So,
had an outpouring
okay.
of support on this.
Yes, we have.
Everyone that has voted and put us in this position as a broader community.
I'd like to make a comment before we vote. While I wholeheartedly disagree with waiting, and I have every intention when we do vote on this to vote in favor of allowing the public assembly permit to go through, if there is a member of this council who would like to wait, and even if I disagree with it, if a member of the council wishes to wait, then we should wait. However, I would ask that we vote on this at the earliest convenience for that member. We have until June. Again, I plan on voting for it, and I hope everybody else does as well. But if we are going to stick to this precedent that we're going to allow a member to wait on an issue that they have concerns about, then we need to stick with that. Again, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think it should come up for a vote, but I will support waiting simply because that is the precedent that we have established, and I would expect the same treatment to be given to me if I wanted to wait on an issue.
I second what Mr. Abatello said. I have every intention of voting in favor for this public assembly permit, but if Mr. Montgomery feels compelled to wait, I will honor that request.
My name is Tina Grace Jones. I am one of the 2 co-founders, along with Kyle, of Delmarva Pride Center, which has our office location at 7401 Ocean Gateway here in the town of Easton. I would like to speak to this. This organization actually started officially 2.5 years ago. A year and a half before that, though, I started a little support group for transgender people. Because, quite honestly, there was nothing here on the shore. And you, as Reverend Davis said, the stress, the minority stress that comes from being someone who's constantly singled out is very daunting. I am a suicide survivor. I lived in the closet for 56 years because I was terrified to come out because I thought I would lose everything. And I'm going to tell you what happened 4 years ago. I came out 4 years ago when I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and I didn't think I had much time left to live. Within a year, I lost my job. Within a year, I lost most of my family. Within a year, I lost most of my friends. Within a year, my wife lost most of her friends. We were asked when we were going to move out of this county. We were asked when we were going to get divorced because there was clearly, obviously, something wrong with me. I'm here to tell you today that there is nothing wrong with me. And I'm also here to tell you today that I knew I was different when I was 7 or 8 years old. And I knew when I was 12 or 13 that I was in the wrong body. These children that you're talking about today know that too. Those of you who don't have this experience cannot judge those of us that do identify as gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender or any of the other letters under LGBTQIA+. You know, I look at Reverend Davis here. I will never know a black experience. I will never know it, but I can tell you what. Probably the greatest gift I ever got was 4 years ago when all those terrible things happened to me. Because before that time, I had tremendous privilege. I served as an executive in organizations throughout this county. I served as chair of the board of the Chamber of Commerce for this county. I served as the chair of the board for the Economic Development Commission for this county. After I came out, I saw my wages cut by 2/3. That's discrimination. I saw an inability to get a job. That's discrimination. That exists. That exists here. And we need to acknowledge it. And the only way that we confront this is to actually sit down and have conversations with other people. Sitting there saying we're not going to have a festival is doing the exact opposite of that. Sitting there saying that it's right for a child to do this or do that when it's the parent's decision is not the decision of other people. None of you have the right to tell me how to live my life. I have never, ever broken a law. I have only contributed tremendously to the society. I've spent my whole career here, actually working in this town. And now I'm being told I'm not accepted, that I'm not good enough. I'm also the person who coordinates the events for the festival.
Please, I do feel for you with the experiences that you've shared with us. And just so you know, I have trans family members, so I'm vaguely familiar with what is going on here, and I understand the significant role that suicide faces families. And we need to address the concerns about the festival, and the main concern that a lot of people have reached out about in the past is that there were a dancer scantily clad receiving money from children, and that is the main concern of a significant number of community input that we have received, to the extent that we have not even been able to read all of them, which is great. I think community feedback is welcome and highly supported and condoned. But we are needing to balance having a festival, which you do have the right to have, and I imagine that you will be having it, and that the same time need to make sure that people in the community who are concerned about it, what happened towards children, is assured that that is not going to be a thing. Okay. That is what we're trying to wrap our heads around and make a decision based on. So yes. If there was something that you could do to ensure that that is something that would not be occurring, that would make this a lot easier for several people here.
First of all, these are dancers, these are performers. If you decide that there's something else, that's the decision you're making, but these are professionals. They are no different than a ballet dancer or somebody in a musical. And I bet you would have no problem letting a child come up to them and present flowers or whatever. Second of all, as I said, I was at the event. There was nobody scantily clothed. I managed the stage. I was within feet of all these people. And I don't know what your definition of scantily clothed is, but is it any different than what we see walking down the street in Easton in a summer day? Is it different? Did
Yes.
it cross? No. Did we have? I would like to know what was the illegal activity that was undertaken.
No one said anything illegal happened. It's just these are the concerns that we are receiving from people in town. As much opposition as we are receiving support for your event. So we are trying to handle this the best way possible.
Law broken. Then if there's no law broken, then how can you sit there and say you're deferring it for another reason?
I do not believe that the performance that I saw, and maybe we should put this up on the board so we can all discuss it, but What I see there is not the video that was emailed to me, which was concerning me, which was the dancer coming right up to children who were then coming up to him and watching his crotch and handing him money. I'm sorry, that goes beyond, to me, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. This has to do with the appropriateness of particular kinds of exhibitions in the town, and that we have a responsibility. And I do believe that there is harm to children who are exposed to something like this. I was not expecting we would be debating that part, but I'm convinced that there is harm. I certainly know that there are people who have expressed that sentiment to me, and all I am asking is that as you do that you give us assurances that as you do your program, there will be no exhibitions like this one or even if you say, no, this one was just fine, that there will be no exhibitions of scantily clad dancers on the street exhibiting themselves to children, that it be done in a way that we can not be concerned about the reactions that someone who finds themselves there, maybe inadvertently, has to the kind of performances that are being put on in front of them. And that's what I'm asking for. Can you control the program, either whether it's for your hired professional performers or people who come there, to prevent this kind of activity?
Yeah, so here's how I'll answer. First of all, that was from 2022. I don't think there's any evidence of anything at all in 23.
Did you change things? How did you change them?
We actually sit there and work with the performers. We talk to them. They screen every song. They screen every act. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we take a very diligent approach to that. Okay. The other thing I will say to you, when you talk about harm being done to children, half of kids who are trans like me attempt suicide. Don't think about it. They attempt. Okay? You know what the biggest deterrent to that is? At least one parent who's willing to sit and have a conversation with them. It drops it by tenfold and brings it back to what the average is for the kids of the same age.
Can we stay on the festival, please?
Well, I'm just addressing the issue that was brought up, that this is harmful to others, and that there is plenty of science out there to prove it otherwise, and I am happy to bring that and present that to this commission.
I would like very much to participate in what you're describing, to hear your presentation of the science, and to hear a presentation of the science which is finding which has findings about the epidemic of gender dysphoria among high school students, the potential harm that decisions made at that point can have in the future. I'm not sure it's the thing for the council to take up, because I believe that our judgment on this, at least my judgment on this, would be, can we have an event here which gives you the opportunity for affirmation and being together, that does not offend a significantly large group of other people for whatever reason? Has to be. I'm trying to make it clear whether you are saying that drag shows and pushing overt sexuality has to be part of your festival for it to work, or whether you're saying you can put limits on that, which are kind of which make it something that the entire community wants to be part of.
Sir, here's how I'll answer that. We already do put limits on it. We showed that last year. We showed the good restraint. We do not see those performances as sexualization. I'm sorry you do. What I saw there was somebody performing gymnastic maneuvers. Mm-hmm. I've seen plenty of splits in my life from gymnasts, from other dancers. There was nothing there, and they were clothed in a bodysuit and boots. The only thing showing was their arms and their legs from their mid-thighs to their knees. Okay. I'm worried that soon we're going to be sitting here saying, women, get your long gowns back out.
I'm James Kelly, and I live at 28474 Pinehurst Circle in Easton. Many of the things that the previous speaker said were factually inaccurate. The issue was, can we protect the community from inappropriate activities? We're all God's children. No one is hoping that anyone will be victimized, and we're all against people being victimized. But it is your position as members of the council to protect us from pornography or from things that are harmful. Your job is to make this a safe, wholesome place for all people to participate. And so the issue got hijacked as if it was an issue of victimization, and that was not at all what the proposal was about. So I want to thank Mr. President, Mr. Montgomery, for trying to keep the focus on what the issue was. I am a psychiatrist. I treat many transgender folks, and many of the things that were stated today were factually inaccurate. There are people that have many, many difficulties, but your job was to focus on this parade and to keep Easton a safe place that children can be raised in an appropriate manner. And I'm sorry that it got hijacked to other issues, which wasn't at all the focus of this discussion.
What was factually inaccurate?
Many of the things that were said about gender identity and the health and the wealth, and one of the previous speakers made an interesting comment about the surgery. People are ecstatic. That elation doesn't last. Generally, what we see in real life treatment is that people are happy when they're in the pursuit of some goal. Once that goal is reached, often they're just as bad or unhappy, suicidal as they were before any kind of treatment, surgery, or change. That's the harsh reality, and the hype that says that there's a miracle cure, there's a magic bullet, is false. And it's fueled by those selling these products. Like all fads, make millions and millions of dollars in the short term. And over time, hopefully, the factual inadequacy and inaccuracies are exposed. I see patients in all stages, before, during, and after. There's some change. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse, but there isn't this euphoria about this is nirvana and this is the answer. I wish it were true, but it isn't the case. And there was an issue made about gender dysphoria as it's being discredited. It's a diagnosis that's made every day. It's still an approved diagnosis. It's still listed. It's based upon multiple parameters, and it is still a major problem, and it is going to continue to escalate and get worse, as we've seen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members from?
I am convinced that one of the other jobs that an elected representative has is to safeguard the common good of the entire community. We certainly have laws that deal with what parents can and cannot take their children to. I believe we still have ratings on movies that say children are not allowed, whether their parents take them there or not. I believe, but more important, I think that the responsibility of every elected official is to care for the common good of the community, and that is a much broader mandate than simply to vote on whether we're going to have parks or keep track of the budget. Let me put this on the record. I am very concerned about the harm that the current fad, epidemic of sex change procedures is causing among teenagers. The percentages are skyrocketing as this has become an issue that is something that is being promoted widely. I, for one, do not want to have an event that encourages anyone to be attracted to such permanent and potentially harmful changes that cannot be reversed at an age when we don't consider them mature enough to vote, and we don't allow them to drink or even use marijuana because of their potential harm. That's my position, and that's why I make my second point, which is that I think there have to be strong limits on what it is that is presented at this festival, not that the festival should not occur. My concern was simply that to learn where the line is drawn of what is and is not an acceptable performance to be put on the street during this particular event. Because people do say, I want to come down for other purposes, and this is right in the center of town where I cannot avoid seeing these things or have my children and grandchildren seeing them. I should also say that I absolutely would have no tolerance for any threats against anyone for who they are, what they say, how they live. I think every one of us is a being created by God who is of infinite value. You and me and everyone else who is sitting in this room. It's that is not in any way my intention to question. I doubt that we will hear anything different from what was stated to us tonight, so I'll be happy to see the council go to it.
I move for approval of the public assembly permit for the Delmarva Pride Center annual event.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.